You've just been listening to the sound of a jazz line created entirely from diminished seventh arpeggios. Hello, I'm Mike Hayes and welcome to Jazz Guitar Chord-melody, Part 67. In this session we'll be looking at more ways of applying the major sixth diminished scale to our repertoire, music study and chord melody solos. In today's lesson, I'd like to demonstrate just some of the ways that an experienced arranger can lift the harmonic veils of a piece of music and reveal beautifully ordered patterns that actually exist within the composition itself. The tune we'll be working on is Podo, first recorded in 1941 by the Duke Ellington Orchestra. Podo is a 32-bar AABA song form. And on the screen at the moment you'll see the first A section of Podo with a fairly typical set of chords, the type of chords that you'd find in a fake book. In order for us to develop a fresh approach to these songs, and bearing in mind they've been around for a long time, what we have to do is strip the chord progression right back to the absolute basic set of chords. So what do I mean by a basic set of chords? Well, my goal is to try and reduce the chord progression to two chords, a 1 chord and a 5 chord. Now I may not be able to reduce the song to just 2 chords, but that's my first goal, to strip back all the ornamentation and see if I can reduce the song to the absolute basic movement, the tension from the 5 chord resolving to the 1 chord. And remember our formula from way back, tension plus release equals motion. So let's get to work and see what we can do with Podo. In bar 1 I have a 2-5 progression, so I'm going to reduce that to just a 5 chord. The same thing occurs in bar 2. A 2-5 progression, let's make that a 5 chord. So the first 2 bars in our new analysis of the tune would be 2 bars of G7. Bars 3 and 4 we have a really interesting progression, but for the purpose of what we're doing at the moment, I'm going to reduce bars 3 and 4 to 2 bars of C6. Bars 5 and 6 we're back to a 2-5 progression, let's just make that a G7, a 5 chord. Bars 5 and 6 will be G7. In bars 7 and 8, again we've got some interesting movement, however for the purpose of our project at the moment we're going to make that 2 bars of C6. Now let's have a look at our new version of the first 8 bars of Podo. On the top of the screen you'll see the original set of chords out of a fake book, and on the bottom of the screen you'll see our new way of viewing that same progression. Right then, well that covers the A sections of Podo. Let's check out the B section. Now does this look familiar to you? It should. It's our old friend the Sears-Roebuck bridge that we studied in the previous video on the rhythm changes. Right then, well this is where all the fun starts. Now that we've stripped back all the harmonic ornamentation and we can see the basic underlying chords for this tune, we're now going to create our own harmonic blueprint using only 2 types of chords, the major 6th chord and the diminished 7th chord. And here's our blueprint. Now I'll just go through how I arrived at this particular set of chords. Anywhere there was a major chord, I simply substituted that with a major 6th chord. And anywhere there was a dominant 7th chord, I'm simply playing a diminished 7th chord a semitone higher than the dominant 7th chord. So what I mean by that is if there was a G 7th chord in the original chart, I'm playing a G sharp diminished or an A flat diminished. It's a semitone higher than the dominant 7th chord. As another example, where there's an E 7th chord in the original chart, I'm playing an F diminished chord. Okay, time to try these ideas out. The bass will be playing from the original set of chords, that is 2 bars of G7, 2 bars of C, and so on. And while the bass is playing from the original set of chords, we'll be playing chords from our new blueprint. So we'll be playing a B diminished 7th chord over a G bass. The effect that's produced when we do this is that of a G7 flat 9. Let's have a listen to how our new set of chords work over the original set of chords. Did you notice in the bridge that when we played the diminished chords, they move down chromatically? Depending on how you want to name the diminished chords, I'm going to name the first chord F diminished in the bridge. Then it moved down to E diminished, then down to E flat diminished, and then to D diminished. Now I'm going to play another track where I'm going to have the diminished chords move up in the bridge. The interesting thing is that when we have a chord progression that moves in a cyclic manner, like as in the Sears Roebuck bridge, when we want the diminished chords to move in an ascending fashion, the diminished chords move up in tones. So if I name the first diminished chord an F, the next diminished chord would be G, then A, and then B diminished. I'll go into why and how all this works in future sessions, but the thing to remember at the moment is when we're moving around the Sears Roebuck bridge, if we want the diminished chords to move down, they move down in semitones. If we want the diminished chord sound to move up, we move up in tones. Okay, let's have a listen. This time the Sears Roebuck bridge will have diminished chords moving up at the rate of 1 tone per chord change. In this next example, I'm going to present 3 different ways that you could use this basic 2-chord template that we've come up with. The idea is to show you that when you have a very basic set of chords in mind, it allows you a tremendous amount of freedom to come up with your own way of thinking about the music. With regard to the B diminished, I'm going to move the B diminished chord around the fingerboard at a distance of 3 frets. In other words, move the diminished shape up 3 frets or down 3 frets. And the way this works is that the diminished chord repeats every 3 frets. In other words, it's the same chord, only a different inversion of that chord when you move it around 3 frets on the guitar. For the C6 chord, I'm going to create a sense of movement with a concept that we covered back in Jazz Guitar Chord-melody Part 36, which is what I called the Count Basie style movement. You might like to check that out if you're unfamiliar with that concept. And then when it comes to the bridge, I'm going to create a jazz line, a single note jazz line, created entirely out of the diminished 7th arpeggio. Now, I'm going to let it play through firstly so you can hear the effect, and then I'll go through the arpeggio slowly after this track so you can see exactly what I've done. Okay, let's have a listen. I think you'll agree we're getting quite a lot of variety out of just 2 chord types. Okay, let's have a look at the bridge and this arpeggio that we created the jazz line out of. You'll see where I'm playing the arpeggio on the guitar, and the idea is this fingering that I'm using, I'm going to move back a semitone at a time in exactly the same way as we did with the diminished chords. If you recall, when we started the Sears Roebuck bridge, we had an F diminished chord and then we moved it back a semitone. So this is going to be the same thing that happens with this arpeggio. We're going to create an initial line and then move it down 1 fret lower. Okay, let's get to work on this diminished arpeggio line that we're creating for the bridge. I'm going to play the notes in the first bar and call out the names of the notes as I'm playing them. Here goes. D, F, D, B, G sharp, F, G sharp, B. Now the neat thing is this exact line that you've just played is repeated in the second bar of the bridge. So let's have a listen to that arpeggio line played through twice, and this would be bar 1 and bar 2 of the bridge. And now if we move that diminished arpeggio shape down 1 fret, we'll have a slight variation of the phrasing, and in bar 4 we've got the all-important silence. We're not playing through that bar. I'm going to play and call out the names of the notes in bar 3. C sharp, E, C sharp, B flat, G, E, B flat, C sharp. The jazz line in bar 5 and 6 is exactly the same as what we played in bars 1 and 2. It's simply a tone lower. Let's have a listen. C, E flat, C, A, F sharp, E flat, F sharp, A. And now on to bar 7, which, as you may have guessed, is an exact duplication of bar 3, down a tone lower. Here goes. B, D, B, A flat, F, D, A flat, B. And just to finish off, I'm going to play through Podo one more time, only this time when we get to the bridge, I'm going to play a harmony part a third higher. So all that means is I'm going to play exactly the same arpeggios and the same fingering and the same phrasing, only I'm going to start 3 frets higher. And this will give me a harmony of a third in the bridge. Well, that's all we've got time for in this session, folks. If you enjoyed this lesson and want to see more, please consider subscribing to my channel. It really helps me out and ensures you don't miss out on any future lessons. Don't forget, if you have any questions or comments, to pop them in the comments section below this video. And as always, I look forward to catching up with you again next time. Bye for now.